So that's TYLER1 and that's FAKER, and they are about to play a chess match at the 2026 Esports World Cup. Yes, you heard that right. TYLER1, the chess prodigy, the League of Legends streaming powerhouse, and FAKER, who is talked about as the Michael Jordan of esports. Yes, it's that serious. This man is the most dominant and decorated esports player ever. He is an international superstar. And as you're going to see in this video and this game breakdown, he's actually really freaking good at chess. Both of these guys happen to be top 1% chess players. And I am going to show you how this game went. The game on video actually starts in this position and not the starting one, but I've managed to recreate it on chess.com for all of you. So like I said, the video actually shows this position and you can mirror it one-to-one. And then FAKER slides this bishop over here and captures it on e2. But I've managed to recreate the opening because I know what TYLER1 plays and I can kind of hypothesize how FAKER played. So both of these guys get honorary grandmaster titles. And Tyler, of course, started with e3. The cow opening, he likes to put both pawns like this, and then knight e2, knight d2. Now, I actually don't know in which order FAKER developed his pieces, but I can sort of deduce it, right? So we have d5, knight e2, knight f6, and then knight d2. And now FAKER either developed the knight or the bishop. I have just chosen a very arbitrary move order. He went here, Tyler went here. This is what he normally does. The cow opening is worse for the side that plays it according to the computer because you have less space and the other side can use the flank pawn to put you under pressure. But honestly, for most of the elo ladder, it like minus 0.8 doesn't mean anything. And as we're going to see in this game, it really doesn't mean anything. So castles from FAKER, we have bishop e2, knight c6, and Tyler castles. And then here, you know, black has a choice, right? He has these two powerful central pawns. And I think in general, League of Legends players, like maybe this is a complete overstatement, but especially the folks that are more gaming inclined and they have that type of brain, they coordinate their pieces just a little bit better. Now here, you know, again, black can focus in the middle. FAKER's like, well, I can't move my bishop out this way. So I'm going to play b6 and try to get my bishop out to b7. And here, TYLER1 usually plays something with a knight, but in this particular position, he strikes the center with the move e4. We can see there was a transformation on the video because there's no d-pawn. So I imagine it was something like takes, and knight to d4, which is a good move. But already the guys have reached a completely equal middle game, which is incredible, right? Like, this is where we pick things up. White has many, many choices to go from here. And I was able to both watch the video and recreate the game using my own mind. And I think I may be the only one on the internet that's done that. So you are watching an exclusive. Hopefully this has not been analyzed or broken down anywhere else. So Tyler goes here. He doesn't care if this bishop gets taken, although the better move here is not to allow the bishop to get taken. Look, folks, about 8 times out of 10, the knight for bishop trade is better for the person that's going to get the bishop. And so if you don't have a good reason to give away a bishop, don't give it away. It's a very good long-range piece. But in the game, knight b3 was played, takes, and we got bishop to b7, simply developing, applying some pressure. Now, when I look at this position, here's the inherent problem with the cow. This knight is in a decent spot. But this knight is not, and he is going to have to bring this knight back. It doesn't have any forward mobility, and that's the problem with this opening, is that long-term, the coordination is just not there. If the coordination is not there, then it's going to be even harder to generate any sort of initiative or attack. And that actually becomes very apparent right here. Here, the best move for white is probably centralizing the rook, just improving this position like this. Maybe black will walk into this attack. What you don't want to do here is you don't want to play a move, and then when you are attacked, return to the home square. You almost never want to return to the home square. Now, probably Tyler was like, well, if I go here, he's going to take my pawn. If I go here, that's kind of clumsy. I'm in the way of my rook. Let me just go all the way back. And obviously, if here, black just wins the piece. But you got to commit to it. Like, you might as well even take the knight just to try to make some more progress in the position. Put your rooks like this, like this. Now, obviously, TYLER1 has, he's watched some of my videos on stream, and he has called me an idiot before, I'm pretty sure, and, maybe he had a strategy, and I just simply am too stupid to understand it, and that's completely fine. But yes, I didn't like this because it feels like the momentum is being lost a little bit. FAKER here continues to make improving moves. The best move for black is a multi-purpose pawn move. Faker brought his queen and then brought his rooks to the middle, which is completely correct. For the record, TYLER1's a 1600 rapid rated player who used to be almost 2000. In fact, he might have even crossed 2000. Like, the fact that Faker's just like outplaying him is mind-blowing. Like, this dude is obviously insanely good at chess too. So the move in this position for black that is the best move is this move pawn to a5. So using your A or your H pawns against the knight, which is standing in that 3rd or 6th rank slot and can be targeted, very annoying strategy. Because white now has to make some sort of decision here of whether to run away. That pawn is going to be used to then smash the structure or just not allow the knight to come forward. And also this move does something else. It wins control of the a6 square, where you will then attack the queen and the rook. So a5 is a very nasty move. But there's obviously nothing wrong with playing queen d7. Also a very good move. At this point, Tyler's like, all right, this didn't work. I need to come up with another plan. I'm going to open up the position. Here's the problem. If I asked you right now, should white move this pawn to f3 or f4? All of you need to say the same thing. Why? I wrote a second book, How to Win at Chess, Next Level. It's for intermediate players. And one of the things discussed in that book is knights and bishops. Bishops like an open board. And bishops also only control one color. And so in this position, black has a light squared bishop. And that bishop is pointed at this pawn, and clearly the bishops see that way. So white needs to keep the position closed. You got to keep the position closed. Playing a move like pawn to f4 opens things up, but it opens things up relative to the opponent who wants to open things up, right? And it also leaves you with an isolated pawn in the center. f4 invites more problems, then it's able to grant advantages to the side that's getting the pawn trade going. So TYLER1, he plays f4, which on a surface, you look at pawn takes, bishop takes, rook takes. Here's the thing though. Do you notice how that's equal? How fascinating is that? If f4 is played, it's minus 2.3. How is it minus 2.3? Because after pawn takes, bishop takes, it's only minus 2, but you don't take. It's not checkers. In this position, if black now makes this move, this is a major issue for white. White now probably has to go back and defend himself, and you can't. The truth is you cannot defend yourself in this position, as after this trade now and this pressure, there's queen d4 check, a square that used to be protected by the knight that now needed to go back and defend. The king moves, you lose at least the pawn on b2, and then you're going to probably lose even more pawns. And the computer is so scummy, it just wants to go here. It doesn't even want to take anything, and we just see how this pressure here is overwhelming for white, who is desperately defending the position. -3. Instructive how it's -3 if you only trade once, right? And you could take, you could also delay it, but then if you delay it, white goes f5, and I wouldn't really recommend that, although the computer is convinced even this position is terrible for white, which I'm not so convinced. I think you should take. Anyway, rook e8 is the move actually that Faker chooses. This is the top move of Stockfish. Now, whether this man fully evaluated the opening or closing of the position, I have no idea, but he literally just played the top move of the computer. And now Tyler, he needs to go f5, just purely on principle. The side that has the bishops wants to open the game. I get why he played the move that he played in the game. He activates his rook. This is probably the way he's done it. He runs it down mid or whatever they say in League of Legends. Problem is in this position, the other guy is running it down mid first. With D, right, with these two, the bishop, etc. At this point, white needs to go bishop f4. It's time to start trading off black's pieces. Bishop f4. Again, if this trade happens, white is actually kind of back in the game. But yeah, in the game, Tyler negates his development a little bit too long. And as it happens in intermediate chess, when you delay your pieces just simply too long, and then you try to go into battle, sometimes you will lose slowly, sometimes you will lose immediately. And Tyler plays rook f5, and the game is over. Rook f5 is a tactically flawed move. First of all, this move doesn't have a threat, which I don't like. I think Tyler here needed to trade off some pieces. This move does not carry a threat, and black's position is already so strong the threats are simply overwhelming. And this is a move that loses tactically to bishop takes knight, which ironically is a move like, oh, we don't want to trade a bishop for a knight, but this is falling apart. And it's actually even worse than that, which Faker did not spot. Tyler got himself into a bad position, but it's only a bad position if you can prove that it's a bad position. And right now, queen takes rook is simply a free rook. Now, obviously, he looked at it, saw that it was protected, maybe saw that he could attack the queen, maybe hallucinated the knight is protecting the queen, because normally the knight is on c3, but queen f5 is just a free rook. But e4 is also hanging, so he took it. Bishop e4 is bad. It's a little bit worse than knight e4. Knight e4 is more powerful because the bishop stays long range. The knight is threatening a million other things. White is just lost here because the knight's going to take the pawn, hit the queen, hit the rook. The rook is hanging, by the way. You play like something like queen f3, even knight back attacks the rook and attacks the queen. Like there is no way to defend anything here. Bishop e4 is a little clumsy because it allows TYLER1 a little bit back into this game. He realized that if he just moves his rook anywhere, the bishop will move, he's going to be in some trouble. So he plays the best move. And this is why he's TYLER1. This man sacrifices the rook! Rook f6! It's the only thing he can do. This is the only chance that he has. He's losing. He's got to create a little bit of chaos. So he gives away the rook for the knight, and then he picks up the pawn on h6, and now black's king is a little open. And so here with black, your heart's pounding a little bit. You know, Faker is there. He's looking. I mean, this is the Michael Jordan of esports. His heart's not pounding, bro. But, you know, he's like, well, I don't want to lose. You know, my bishop, blah, blah, blah. I could come back. But you start looking for the knockout here. Now, there is a chapter in this book called Converting Winning Positions. All right? And if you haven't gotten a signed pre-order yet, there's few copies left. Link is always in the description. Now, 2 ways to convert a winning position. Use your material advantage to launch an attack, or use your material advantage to simplify. Like, if you trade the queens here, black will probably win. If you then trade a pair of rooks, you probably win. If you end up with a rook versus a bishop, or a rook versus a knight, you win. Or you launch an attack. Rook d8 is the move played, and now rook f1. And unfortunately here, they're both human, and disaster strikes. Faker just thought he was immediately winning. Now, if I'm playing with black here, you know, I'm obviously looking for a useful discovered attack, like maybe bishop d5. The problem with bishop d5 and trying to trade the knight is that white can go here, and this just kind of looks scary. So maybe you just go here, you cover up your king, queen f2, you know, you make sure that this is protected, and you try to trade the queen. All right, that's really like the course of action here. Maybe queen is c5, like slowly improve the position, but you're not winning yet. I mean, there's no immediate victory. But Faker thought he spotted a victory, and he went bishop d3. And this is a big mistake. Losing a full bishop in the middle of a game like this sends the full evaluation sideways, back into the favor of TYLER1. You see, Faker thought the queen's hanging, and I have this, and he can't take me with the pawn. This would work if the primary defender of the bishop was the rook, because the queen could not take the bishop, because then the rook would take the queen. But you can take this with the queen. He went for the knockout punch. He was completely winning. He went for the knockout punch, and Tyler saves the day. And you can see it on video. There's a moment the camera jumps to this position. The editor will put it up. Like, the camera jumped to this position, and I was like, how did we get here? And then I realized, back on this screen, like I realized, you know, Tyler did this, and then Faker obviously thought that bishop d3 just won the game. Now here, queen g4 would be a nice counterplay, but the queen is covering that. But I couldn't believe it. That is devastating. And now, this is a very tough position, because this endgame is only better for white. Why is this endgame only better for white? It's because 2 pieces are better than a rook. They just are. Almost all the time. Very rarely not. But two pieces are better than a rook, even if there's an extra pawn, which there is. Why? Because in the endgame, white just now has 3 pieces. Black only has 2, right? You have 3 active pieces. How do you win a position like this? Ideally, you win at least some of the pawns, and then ultimately your material advantage will be used to win the game. Now look, this is 0.7, right? Now, this position is -1, because black can get in and start hunting pawns, right? So it's important how you trade. Now, this position is plus 1 point. Look, it's plus 1.2. So if the rook cannot get in against your weaknesses and you coordinate your pieces well, you're winning, right? And then, like, if black pushes the pawns the wrong way, suddenly it's plus 2. These pieces are just simply too powerful together. They will start attacking. The king will start moving. The black rook can't defend everything. It can't defend when 2 different pieces attack something. So rook d3, rook f6 was the game. I think this pawn was captured. And so now there was a sequence of moves here where the camera turns off, right? Like they paused it, they fast forwarded. And the next thing that we see on camera is this position. All right, this position that occurs in the game, something like this. This is the next position that we see. So obviously what has happened here is that, or, something along like these lines, right? So there's a moment here where he's thinking, and FAKER goes rook c7. He wants to play rook c7 and rook c2. He plays rook c7 and is like, oh my god, rook c7 is obviously a one-move blunder. But Tyler lets him take it back. Good sportsmanship. And then the camera cuts and we're here. Now, why is this position plus 3? Why is white now completely winning when the original endgame was like plus 1 or, basically equal? Again, it depends on the rooks. So white took a pawn, but ultimately it's the pieces that are re-entering the game, and black needs to be more active with these rooks. He needs to coordinate these rooks together on the second rank, and he needs to use his pawn majority. So in an endgame, you need to find the assets of your position, the strengths of your position, and then you need to coordinate your pieces. I think black wants to avoid a rook trade. The rooks are more powerful together. The value of each piece being worth 5 points is felt. When it's only one of them on the board, it's like a 4-point piece alone. So it needs that support. And the position that we end up seeing in the video, which is this, first of all, black lost a pawn. And second of all, black has no targets and the rooks are uncoordinated. Right? So now white is dominating. White has a very, very strong advantage. And the way you win this position as white, for instance, is you play rook d8, king f7, rook d7, and let's say the king goes somewhere like here. And at a minimum, you can consider trading here. But I think you can win by force in this position, something like knight to h6 check. And after, the king goes to h8, let's say, you actually have mate. So you have a very weird endgame where you actually can swarm with a checkmate. And obviously, if king f8, there is this. Now, if you don't find a checkmating attack, we just slowly improve the position. We slowly improve. King f3. I don't really know where black goes here, to be honest. Let's say black kind of like goes over there. All right, maybe we play, we play like king e4. And slowly we get to that side of the board and we're going to win these pawns because black doesn't have any counterplay here. Check, king d5. Rook back to e8. We'll use this as a shield, and then we're going to walk into c6. And everything in white's position is so well protected that you slowly get over here, and then you hunt down these pawns. That's the way that white should be winning this position. What happens is Tyler goes bishop h6. The idea of bishop h6 is he's looking for rook d8, so if b5, he's looking for some sort of rook d8. What's amazing is there is nothing here. The king can actually just run out to total safety, and actually you got to be very careful uncoordinating your pieces like this in an endgame, because the knight is guarding the bishop. And what happens when the knight is attacked? Well, you say very easy, I just defend the knight. Yeah, but then I take the knight, and I get my 2 pieces back, and even though you have this move, right, we're just hunting each other's pawns, and this is, again, a draw. So you need to be super careful when you leave your pieces like this, very loosely defending each other in an endgame. Endgames are very difficult, especially an endgame like this. Ultimately, rook c7 was played, bishop f4, rook c2, a trade was offered, and we got king f3, takes. And the rook trade is completely lost for black. So black needed to keep the rooks on the board, but this is a losing endgame because now white goes here, pressures this, moves the knight somewhere, and honestly, it's actually shockingly simple to win this position. Look at what you do. You just go for this pawn. Well, there's a rook hanging. Let's say something like knight d5. And white is just too coordinated. The bishop and the knight are monsters in an endgame, and white is winning. But something happens. In this position, somebody walks over to the boys and is like, hey, Tyler, I need you to offer Faker a draw, and Faker has to accept. I think what happened is they played too long because they played with no clock. And the game just took too much time. But Tyler ends up with a winning position in the end, which he would have had to convert. He has to convert this endgame. And Faker was just winning in like 15, 20 moves. From the opening, he had this moment here, this amazing combo. He could have played queen takes rook, and it would have been, you know, the game would have been over because he would have ran it down mid, taken on g2, brought his second rook, and maybe even mated Tyler, which would have been bananas. So Faker, I had no idea how good he was at chess, but he is clearly exceptional. But we're all human and we all make mistakes. So that concludes this game analysis. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you somehow found your way here and you're still here and you've never watched chess before, because, you know, TYLER1, FAKER, this is like a major crossover in the world of chess. Yeah, play some chess. I got a ton of content on this channel for beginner, intermediate, and advanced players. A ton of different series that you can watch to either learn something or laugh or cry. Like I said, you want to get yourself an autographed book, you still can. Maybe you can't anymore, I don't know, but you should click the top line of the description. And that's all I have for you today. Incredible link up. Hopefully one day I get to play TYLER1 in chess. My dream is to do a gym and chess collab with TYLER1. And maybe one day Faker and I can play as well if I ever find myself over there on the other side of the world. Yeah, that's it. Get out of here.